So if you've seen any of my videos I've done over the last year or so, you know I like to do fanfiction-y type stuff where I see what I think is a missed opportunity or a mistake in a movie or a TV show, and then say what I would have done to fix said mistake, given free reign to do so. Generally, you guys seem to like it more when I talk about big-budget superhero movies, and you don't care for it as much when I talk about, well, anything that isn't a big-budget superhero movie. But sometimes my interests wander outside of the cape and cowl genre, and in this case, that led me to the 2000 sci-fi TV series Andromeda. Full disclosure, I am still watching this series, so please no spoilers. As of writing this script, I've only seen the first 3 episodes out of 110, so my fix for this video concerns something that happens in the 2-part series premiere. But first, a little background on the series. Andromeda was based on 2 failed TV pilots from the 1970s helmed by Gene Roddenberry, Genesis 2 in 1973 and Planet Earth in 1974. Both featured Dylan Hunt waking up from suspended animation in the year 2133 to a collapsed human civilization and having lots of adventures in the TV budget-friendly post-apocalypse. I don't know the specifics of why these pilots didn't get picked up, but in the year 2000, Majel Barrett Roddenberry helped get Andromeda off the ground. This series features Dylan Hunt, basically your James T. Kirk type adventure space captain, on the Andromeda, basically the Enterprise, a ship in the Commonwealth's High Guard fleet, which is basically the Starfleet Federation equivalent. In the first episode, Andromeda answers a distress call near a black hole, and it turns out the Nishians, a species that is part of the Commonwealth, are betraying the Commonwealth. This is kinda interesting because it turns out there is at least one Nishian officer on board the Andromeda, Gaheris Raid, Captain Hunt's no-nonsense second-in-command officer. While the Andromeda is figuring out the nature of this catastrophe, Raid suggests Captain Hunt send the Nishians on Andromeda into the brig until he can figure out where their allegiances lie. This is weird because seconds later, while being transferred to the brig, Raid kills his escorts and returns to the bridge after Captain Hunt has ordered everyone evacuate the ship. Why did you suggest having yourself sent to the brig if you wanted to come right back and kill Captain Hunt? Why not just kill Captain Hunt when nobody is suspicious, since you're the one who suggested having all the Nishians arrested? Anyway, Raid and Captain Hunt end up being the last 2 on the ship, and they get in a firefight where Raid dies as the ship goes into suspended animation thanks to its proximity to the black hole. The rest of the 2-part premiere is Captain Hunt waking up 300 years later and forming a new crew of scavenger pirates to help him reform the Commonwealth and instill the universe with the bright ideologies of his time. So what would I do differently? I would have kept Gaheris Raid alive and made him an integral part of the show. On the one hand, I can see why they did it this way. It's much more tragic and kinda poetic when it's one dude all alone with no friends or family, separated by centuries from everything he knew and loved. The man out of time element becomes slightly less special when it's more than just one man out of time. But I think you could have still had the same premise this series explored if you kept Gaheris alive and had him join Dylan in his mission to rebuild the Commonwealth. Here's how I would do it. For one, his betrayal needs to feel like it's really tearing him up inside. Before the Andromeda answers the distress beacon, Gaheris and Hunt are talking about Hunt's upcoming wedding, and even though Gaheris is wound a little tight, they both feel like friends. His decision to be part of the Nishians betraying the Commonwealth should have been a big deal to him. He doesn't want to do this, but he feels like it's the lesser of 2 evils. Maybe the Nishians feel like second-class citizens under Commonwealth rule, and they want to tear it all down and build something better. So Gaheris isn't a straight-up bad guy, but is fighting for a just cause from where he's standing. And Hunt, while he doesn't approve of the Nishians killing millions of people in their uprising, he does feel for them in their plight they are fighting to make right, and he doesn't like some of the stuff the Commonwealth has done concerning the Nishians. But the Nishians attacking now is basically genocide, even if they do have some good talking points. Then when the ship comes out of suspended animation, both men can have a nasty shock about the direction things took while they slept. Maybe the Nishians did take over for a little while, but things didn't get better, and under their watch, the Magog began a huge war against the remnants of the Commonwealth. Gaheris thought the Nishians would have been well equipped to run things, but things only got worse. So he's disenfranchised because he was in part responsible for how things turned out. But even before Hunt and Gaheris find out everything that went down during their 300-year nap, you could have a cool scene of both of them waking up, ready to resume fisticuffs, but then finding out there are scavengers on board working for a man willing to send the ship into the black hole if he can't have it himself. We don't like each other very much right now, but we have to work together if we're going to survive the day. Then, even though we don't like Gaheris very much because of the part he played in betraying the Commonwealth, we can see that he and Hunt work very well together. I get it, the episode was going for a Rambo being outnumbered and still overcoming his enemies thing, thing, but you can still do that with two guys being outnumbered, I think. Now, you might say there's already a Nishan who becomes part of the main crew, Tyr and Asazi. The scavengers who pull Andromeda away from the black hole are working for this especially unpleasant man who hired extra muscle, including Tyr, and then left most of the scavengers and muscle he hired on Andromeda when he realized taking the ship would be too much work and he would just destroy it instead. After Hunt worked with his would-be enemies who would take the ship away from him against common foes, he convinces all of them to help him rebuild the Commonwealth. Like I said, I've only seen the first 3 episodes, and right now, Tyr doesn't have a whole lot of characterization. He's angry, he gets testy with pretty much all of the other characters. You could combine him with Gaheris and have him get testy with everyone. Use the actor for Tyr, because I don't want to take away a major role in a TV series from a person of color like this, and have him play Gaheris. Seeing how awful the future is would make both Dylan and Gaheris want to build something better from the ashes. Dylan recognizes the fault of the Commonwealth and wants to take the best elements of it and discard what didn't work. And Gaheris wants to marry his own ideals of better conditions for the Nishans to what Dylan is doing. This can be his way of trying to atone for what he did, not just to the Commonwealth at large, but also to his friend. He regretted attacking Dylan, and maybe he wants to make that right. It won't be easy, it will take time to repair this broken friendship, but they both want what's best for the galaxy at large. If someone asked me what the premise of Andromeda is, I would say Captain America plus Star Trek, but with most of the characters right out of Firefly. And with this premise, fighting for the values of the past while also accepting that some of the past was pretty awful, that's very Captain America. And I think it'd work really well for 2 men at a time, both of them with very different views on what the past was really like, but also equally apprehensive about what the future holds for them. I think there's a lot of story potential there, and at least what I'm looking at right now, admittedly a very tiny slice of this series, it wouldn't have really changed all that much. So I hope that at least one of you out there appreciated this, and if you did, well, I do this kind of thing a lot, so check out some of my other fix videos, and I do other stuff as well. In the meantime, have a good one.